So we're going to be tearing up this concrete, and there really is no easy way around this. And in my mind, I think for a basement bathroom, it's really important to have heated flooring. Obviously, a basement is going to be pretty cold, and the flooring and the concrete is definitely going to make it really uncomfortable. So I recommend doing a heated flooring system. We're just going to do electric. But with that said, I don't want to raise the height of my basement floor. I don't want to have a step coming into the bathroom. A lot of times basements have concrete that are kind of sloped towards a floor drain. So you always kind of have unlevelness in a concrete substrate, which would require, if you didn't tear up the concrete, you would have to add some floor leveler to level everything out. And sometimes that could be pretty tremendous. Maybe by the time you're done in a 4-foot span, you could have almost an inch thickness between the outside concrete and the inside of the bathroom. So in my mind, I think it's just best to tear up all the concrete underneath of the basement bathroom area. So this is going to be a 4x8 space. I'm just recommending to tear out all of the concrete within that entire area. And what's really going to be great about it is that I'm going to be able to make a curbless shower very easily. I get questions all the time. How do you make a curbless shower on a concrete floor? There isn't any easy way. You have to, at least at the very minimum, bust up the concrete inside the shower area so you can recess it. The other option is just to get one of these very thin shower pans that would require having the outside floor raising up to that level. Again, you're going to have a really thick outside difference in between the inside of the bathroom and the outside. If you're going to try to do a curbless entry and you're just going over the existing concrete, you're talking about 1.5 inches, 1.75 inches by the time you're done with the tile and everything. And that is just a really big trip hazard. I don't recommend that. So if you want to do curbless, it's best just to tear up the concrete. Again, we're only doing 32 square feet. Maybe if you did a 5x8 bathroom, you're only talking about 40 square feet. It's just going to be easier, and it will be able to embed everything, make everything nice and level and even with the outside concrete floor. It also makes it just easier to run all the plumbing. You know, a lot of times when you try to trench things, well, first off, I don't even know where the plumbing is. I'm assuming it's going along this side of the wall and exiting outside of the home, but I really have no idea. It could be diagonally being run this way. So, you know, you're trying to guessing where this is going. And if you remember, this was pretty ruined here. So I didn't want to open up this can of worms here because everything's corroded and be able to find out which way the actual piping is going. Again, I'm just saying this because, you know, sometimes when you're trying to trench things, you end up being off and you end up busting out a lot more concrete than it's worth. And then you're just trying to patch it in with the existing concrete. I think it's just easier to run all new concrete, use some floor leveler, and you're nice and level. So first thing is let's mark out our area. So we laid this out on this piece of foam here. So we already have basically our outline, which is really helpful to determine what we're doing here. And then we're going to have a 2x6 wall that was going to encapsulate all of my plumbing. So that's going straight up against the wall. This is a pretty nice, fairly straight wall, so we're going to be referencing this for squareness. So let's just simply cut out the entire area here. So let's just mark my concrete, and we'll just cut this, and this will be the inside area of my bathroom. So it's hard to say. I'm hoping that I can just keep the concrete underneath up against the wall, against this concrete wall, but I really don't know until I determine how my piping is coming through. If I have my basically my piping coming straight across here, I'm probably going to end up having to bust this out. But it would make it easier if I already have existing concrete here, because then I can just frame it up right off of that existing concrete rather than building new concrete to attach this to. But we'll see once we tear it up. But for right now, I'm just going to cut this line, and then hopefully I can preserve the concrete up against the concrete block. Okay, so for cutting concrete, you could obviously go out and rent a big demo cutter, but these things are really becoming pretty affordable. I got this off of Amazon for about 130 bucks. That's probably what you'd be paying to rent one for the day. So this has a 7-inch blade. It's probably only going to cut down about 3 inches, but that's probably most likely what the thickness of this is. And even if it's not, at least I have a nice cut line, and it'll be able to, once I break up the concrete, it'll actually, when you make that cut, it'll go through. So this you add water to, which really makes it nice so that you're not making a whole bunch of dust. That's really important. This can get really, really dusty if you don't have any way to contain it. So check it out. I'll put it on my Amazon store, but I thought this was a really nice little device. You know, it has all the safety features on it, but all you need is just a simple concrete blade for it. Yeah, no, this thing's a piece of junk. This thing really can't handle it. I mean, what did I get? 4 foot, 3 foot? So I'm gonna go get my bigger one. I really thought this would be a nice little tool to be able to do something like this, but I don't even know what the heck this thing's for. I guess just, I mean, you wouldn't even really cut, I mean, this is not very hard concrete. It really shouldn't be, I don't know what you would use this for, honestly. So take that recommendation back. I won't be using this. Okay. All right, so this guy is a little bit better for sure. This is another cheapie though. And one of the biggest things annoying with this is that it doesn't have anything to inject the water on this thing. So I'm just gonna use this pump that the other cheap one came with and then have my shop vac to it. Hopefully it'll keep down the dust. Okay, so easiest way to bust this up is a jackhammer. I've had this thing for a really long time. I actually just got this thing from Harbor Freight, believe it or not. And I've used it on many, many jobs. So this is definitely something, if you're a contractor, definitely worth investing in. Otherwise, just renting it for 4 hours is probably all you'd really need. You could probably use a sledgehammer and bust this up, but this obviously is really gonna make it a heck of a lot easier. It really all depends on how thick your concrete is. Sometimes I've seen basements where they only have 2 inches of concrete, so it's not a big deal to just bust up with a simple sledgehammer. But let's go ahead and bust this up and see what we're gonna get into here. Right up, this stuff is really rock solid. They say it gets harder over time. I'd say that's true. Should be easier once I get something I can break off the slab, you know? Everything's so condensed. All right, nothing to it. Sledgehammer was definitely not going to do this one. This concrete is really old, really strong too. But you know, really the key is just trying to get one area opened up and then kind of just break it into pieces like this. But boy, that was a good solid hour's worth of jackhammering. But now it should be fairly easy to get the rest of this out of here and dig down and get to where we need to be. Okay, so come here, take a look. So this is my terracotta. As you can see, this is all deteriorated, falling apart just from hitting it with a hammer. But it elbows down and goes this way out of the bathroom. So my thoughts are, is if I could get this stack moved over to here. So I'm gonna dig this out, find the pipe going all the way over here, and I'll be able to split off, go to my shower, also split off, go to my sink, and then have my waste stack coming right where this toilet supply is. So come down, wide down into this, because right now this is kind of underneath a bunch of cold air return. And if I could get all of this piping up into the joist, that would be ideal. So then I have my full ceiling height. Because otherwise I'm going to have to frame this down. You know, it's not the end of the world. It'll be probably 92 inches, 90 inches. But this really doesn't have to be. You know, if I'm going to dig this out and connect anyways, I might as well move this over a couple of bays. And I'll catch my tub up there nicely. And so everything is going to be, kind of vertically going into the stack here. So that's my plan. But I have to dig down quite a bit. I mean, obviously that's almost a foot down below this main grade here. And then really what I want to do is take up about 6 inches below this concrete, because I want to put my 2-inch foam down, 3 inches of concrete, and then basically put some floor leveler over that heated flooring. So that's 6 inches right there. So really maybe even 7 inches from here, because I want to put some gravel to level things out a little bit. This is not 32 square feet, but it's definitely a lot of digging. But at least we found our pipe. It's not, I'm expecting it to be, maybe right over to here. I could pretty much connect right here, Y off to my shower, and then bring my branch over for my sink too. So it should be a pretty good plumbing setup.
Is it harder than what you anticipated?
Oh, the concrete was way harder than I thought it was going to be. Normally most basements, they just break up pretty easily, honestly. But this was a pretty well put together floor. And it's probably been here 60 years, so it has a lot of time to get hardened. But anybody who puts rebar in their basement floor obviously was, probably doing it right. And they definitely were. So I was not expecting the kind of challenge of tearing this up, but ultimately, this is what I'm saying. Like, even if, I have no idea where the piping actually goes. I knew it was going to elbow down somewhere, but it could have been that way, it could have been this way. So if you're going to try to trench to connect, I mean, it's going to be very difficult. That's why I think it is just better, even though that's a lot of, a few hours of labor, probably a couple more hours to dig this down. I think you're just better off. It's just like you're starting new and you're able to attach everything nicely.